Today's show from the fans' perspective. I got a special guest here to talk about where the Celtics stand, the biggest concern moving forward. We're going down under. We're going to Australia. We're going to have some fun on today's Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, thank you very much. Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Really appreciate you being an everyday listener and everydayer, joining me Monday through Friday, where you get free, fresh podcasts dropped directly to your device. You got to be a subscriber, though, so open up your favorite podcasting app, hit subscribe, and join me on this ride through a very special Celtics season. Bonus podcasts when they play, like Friday night's game against the Dallas Mavericks. So there will be a bonus podcast there on your app or on the YouTube page. If you prefer to watch the show, get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. If you haven't been on the show before, I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal and for you, because you are the consumer, you are the Celtics fan, and I'm just here to make your experience a little bit better. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150. Don't want to cheat you with that extra $50 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150. If your bet wins, visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Today's show, a special show because we're getting directly from the fans' perspective. You know, I'm there. I cover the Celtics. I'm there in the locker room every day. I'm a member of the traditional daily media. So let's get into I want to hear directly from the fans. And today I have a special guest who if a couple months ago put out there that we were taking donations to my sister's GoFundMe. She recently lost her husband to pancreatic cancer, and a bunch of people stepped up and made generous donations. And I'm starting to get a few people now. I'm going to start getting people onto the show. As promised, people pitched in and were very generous. So today, we're going to start that process. We're going to start that by welcoming aboard David Nissen. David, from Australia. What part of Australia are you from?
I'm from Melbourne.
Melbourne,
yeah.
Okay. The very, very expansive Celtics contingent, always listening and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. So thanks. I'm gonna deem you today the representative, as Tommy said, for all of Australia. You are all of Australia today. So thank you for your donation, and thank you for your fandom, and thank you for your support watching and listening to the show. So tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you start as a Celtics fan? Give us your story.
So growing up, I fell in love with basketball at about age 10. Australia, particularly back in those days, was cricket and footy and a bit of soccer, and basketball was just becoming a thing. And this was late 70s, and back then there wasn't an awful lot of basketball going on. The pro league in Australia was pretty not even sure it was around then. The NBA, we couldn't really get to see that. The only basketball we saw was Celtics and Lakers. Yep. And you either fell in love with Larry Bird or Magic Johnson or both. I fell in love with both. But then as we got a bit further along, we got to see more of the games. I realized in my heart I was a Celtics fan.
There we go.
I became a Celtics fan. It probably wasn't until probably till the 90s that we started to be able to get to see games regularly. And even then,
yeah.
But we had our mailing lists of people who would moderate and have discussions on mailing lists and all sorts of stuff. So, Celtics fan from way back. And, my heyday of watching was, the bad old days, Rick Pitino and Walter and Tommy and all that stuff. But, a royal fan all through that. actually made it out to Boston in 2007, saw 2 games.
Oh, nice.
There for 3 days, saw 2 games. One was a double overtime victory against Dwight Howard's Magic. The other was a victory against the Raptors. So in a season where we pretty much lost everything, I got to see 2 wins. So,
well, I think qualifies you as a good luck charm, which means if the Celtics are anywhere near clinching the NBA Finals, you got to fly you up here to make sure that they get a little extra luck.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, let's make that happen. All right, not too much, not to put any pressure on you or anything, but the fate of the Celtics getting banner 18 now falls directly on your shoulders.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to need me this year, fortunately.
That's good. I like that. And I am similarly confident in this team. Now having you've probably been gun shy through a number of experiences. I mean, if you really cut your teeth in the Rick Pitino era, then you have built some calluses over the course of the time. When it comes to Celtics wins and losses, where does this team for you compare to teams that you've watched, teams that you've thought could do it? And have you been able to enjoy the season versus just spend the time worrying about, oh, is this going to translate? Is that going to translate?
I'm loving the season, but there's still the constant flutter in my heart. To compare it to teams, it feels most like the 2008 team, but also different in many ways. So 2008,
sure.
We came in and we had a horrible losing season, and there's a whole lot of confidence, and we had KG there, roaring in our ears every single game, and just got caught up on the hype, and for me that year, it felt all the way through that we were going to win. Still kind of surprised that last basket going in, my heart was riding on that one, but that year just got all the way through. We're going to make it, and then they move on to the Brad Stevens years, and we had all these plucky teams that it was always exciting to watch because they were always doing better than you thought they were going to do. So it was always exciting from that respect. But then probably the last 3 or 4 years, every year it's come into the finals, and I've said, God, this could be our year. We're almost good enough. Maybe we'll get there, and then we get beaten by a team that in your heart you say we should have beaten those guys. And so for that reason, like a lot of people become a bit gun shy. Yeah. But this year, my heart's telling me that this year we're going to do it.
Yeah, and so this is like the interesting part of, like obviously I grew up a Celtics fan. I'm still a basketball fan. I've had to put a lot of that aside, right? Because of my job. I have to make sure that I'm fair. I have to make sure that when they're bad, I'm treating it appropriately. And when they're good, I'm treating it appropriately. And so I don't have a ton of carryover from the year before. And this is probably why I've been so optimistic for this season, because last year's team is last year's team. And for fans, generally speaking, it's one big interwoven kind of fabric. It's a big tapestry, and it's still Tatum and Brown, and Missoula's the carryover from last year. And first of all, I don't think people are able to shake first impressions, and that's why they always say you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And the first year offense, the Joe Mazzulla offense, the sheer amount of 3-pointers that they took, and I think people latch onto that and they see this year and they just think it's the exact same thing, and it's actually not. And I've been trying to tell people all along, Mazzulla ball isn't just shooting 3-pointers. It's taking the best possible shots, and that happens to include a fair amount of 3-pointers, 40 plus a game. And the team itself is different. The makeup of the team is different. Just changing out a couple of guys, Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, and Brogdon as well. But those two guys, Rob and Marcus, make such a significant impact because of Holiday and Porzingis and who they are. This is such a different team, even though some of the faces are the same, that I have put so much of the past in the past. And I see the experiences, I see the growth, I see the maturity, and I think I'm more willing than fans to look at this team and say, this is a championship team. And I think at this point, with 24 games to go, I'm talking about like the regular season being over. I feel comfortable doing that. While some fans are like, whoa, we still have stuff to do. Let's take a closer look at this regular season, how things have progressed, how your attitude has changed, how your feelings have changed as the season has gone on. We'll do that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and it's #1 because they get to do things like give you $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's for you new customers. Sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can see it on the bottom here of the screen of the YouTube page. You can just have to trust me on the audio side. FanDuel.com/lockedon. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. You can use that to bet on anything. They have quick bets. They have live same-game parlays. They have exclusive props. They have everything. The best part about FanDuel is that they have the protections. They have the tools available for you to set your limit, set your betting limit, set your budget. So you know how much you're able to bet. You know how much you're able to spend. Go ahead, set that limit. Gamble responsibly. Have fun. Spend your money however you want to spend it, but do it responsibly. And FanDuel could be a great way to have some fun watching sports. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national 24/7 national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's available on Amazon Fire TV now in the free Fire TV channels app. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, go ahead. If you have the Amazon Fire TV, you can watch it on your TV 24/7. It's there. Find it on the free Fire TV channels app on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today. All the national hosts, Locked On Celtics, will make an appearance from time to time because the Celtics are a big national story. So check that out. All right, let's get back into our discussion here of the season with David. So you came into the season with expectations. Have the Celtics met your expectations? How have your expectations changed over the course of the season?
It's definitely met the expectations. I mean, I was huge Marcus Smart guy.
Yes.
So I was devastated to see him go. But having said that, I'm really happy to see Porzingis come our way. To me, that felt like a deal breaker in terms of, changing the team. And then to get Holiday as well. Oh my God. So
What's your reaction? What's your reaction when you're sitting there? You're getting ready to watch this season. You're like, oh man, it sucks. You had to give up Marcus Smart, but that's okay. You got Rob, you got all this stuff. And all of a sudden they say, nope, wait, we're bringing in Drew Holiday. How did that make you feel? Especially being a big Marcus Smart fan. I was a big Marcus Smart guy myself, obviously. So did you sit there and say, oh, we've got our Marcus Smart replacement, or how did you take that?
Yeah, it really felt like, okay, we've got that defender. We've got that guy that we know that we can just throw out there and say, you know what, wherever it is, you've got him.
Yeah.
Look, I was devastated by losing Smart and Rob as well. Rob, both the Williams. I was big fan of both the Williamses. But yeah, to see the guys we bought in. So it was that mixed bag of emotions that, oh God, some of my favorite players are going to, yeah, but look at the guys we got.
Yeah.
And then this season, I've been, pretty happy with it. It's panned out probably better than I expected so far. I mean, the only thing that worries me is they might get bored.
Yes.
Find it too easy. And then come the playoffs, maybe they, can't, ratchet it up fast enough. But yeah, this season, I've been very much enjoying it.
it's interesting. The boredom thing is the biggest fear for everybody because it's the East is pretty much wrapped up. It's 8 games to play with 8 games lead with 24 games to play, which just so funny to see, by the way. The Cavs go on this monster 20-5 run over basically January and February, from January 2nd and beyond. 20-5, they go from 7th to 2nd in the East, and they gained 0 ground on the Celtics. The Celtics started that with an 8-game lead, and they finished that with an 8-game lead over Cleveland. So it's kind of wild that the Celtics were able to progress, but that shows to me the growth of this team. And the boredom is a very easy storyline. I think it's a possibility that it's there. It's the biggest challenge, I think, for them moving forward. But I'll say that I fear less and less with this team when it comes to the mentality. I've completely bought in to what Joe Mazzulla is selling this team because I see it working. I see the guys kind of parroting what he's saying. I see them buying in. They are doing basically everything that he's asking them to do. The hardest thing for an NBA team to be is all on the same page, to have 15 guys all with the same motivation, with the same, a view of the situation, with the same buy-in with the coach. And it's amazing to me to have that. And maybe it's because Jaylen got his contract. Maybe Jayson doesn't worry about his contract. Derek doesn't worry about his contract. Holiday isn't worried about his contract. They all know that even though it's not done yet, that they all know they're going to get plenty of money. So, and Holiday's already won his championship. Like, all of these things together, it's amazing to me. And this is part of why I'm so confident. It's amazing to me that they are so together. And this last 24 games, yeah, boredom possibly, but I don't think they're all going to let each other fall into that trap. I know Denver last year kind of fell into that trap a little bit. Not even fell into that trap. I think Jokic was just like, he knows how good he was. He didn't care about the MVP. He just cared about getting his body right and his, all of that. And he took off in the playoffs. So that's almost like a different story. The Celtics, I just don't think they are going to allow themselves that big of a lull. They kind of know that this is a special situation. They know how special this is, and it is a special year. So we were talking before about Tatum, and I think we were talking before we started recording, you were mentioning how Tatum in the past would fall out of rhythm and not get it back. And this year he's either getting it back or someone else is picking him up. And I think that was a good point that you made, that might be like at or near the top of the list of why the Celtics are so good.
Yeah, well, if I can throw a question back at you.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that probably scares me the most about the finals, as you say, the border's probably not going to be a thing. A lot of the games they've been winning recently, they've been playing hard, but it looks like they've got another gear they're just not switching up into yet, but they can when they need to. Just on the coaching side of things, we've had, in the past, it's been teams like the Warriors or the Heat who have found a way to knock us out of our rhythm. And then we've not got it back again. Now, this year, I'm a lot less scared about that because, we've got a cheat code in Porzingis who, we can post up. We can do different things around that. The players going to get the rhythm back again. Just on a coaching level and on the whole discussion around rhythm, are there any teams that you fear coming into the finals that might be able to knock us off our rhythm, and maybe it takes us a while to get it back again?
Well, I think, in fact, okay, that's a good question. I will take a second. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to answer that question on the other side, and we can get into the chances moving forward. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. And it's because you just have to pick 2 to 6 players. All you've got to do is pick more or less on their projections. You get it right, you win. And if you get up to 6 right, you can win 10 times your money. Or maybe you can win 100 times your money. Oh, how about playing along with them on Demon Time on Prize Picks? You can turn $10 into $1,000 with their new Demons and Goblins squares. They have squares there that are marked with red demons or green goblins to get different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks. So that is a pretty nice payout. Now, I'm sure the projections are a little bit more difficult with that, but you're good. You're good at this. And you don't have to play against experts. You don't have to play against anybody. You just got to get the projections right or wrong. There's insurance. It's the only place that has daily fantasy insurance. If your player gets injured in the first half and doesn't return, that does not count against the rest of your entry, and the rest of your entry stays live. So Prize Picks does that. They're the only ones who do that. You can go and compete against famous people in their community plays. They have rappers and actors who are playing along. So have some fun with it. You can go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase. You get a first deposit match up to $100. On top of all of that, they'll give you an extra $100, up to $100 to match whatever your first deposit is. So prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Promo code is LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. If you're going to check out the Celtics and the Mavs, you're listening on the national broadcast, you don't like what you hear, go check out Grandy on Max on the SiriusXM app. Listen to their audio, match it up, sync it up with the video, and boom, you got yourself a nice little fun home broadcast experience on the SiriusXM app. So go check that out there. All right, before the break, David from Melbourne, Australia, asked me about potential finals opponents, because that's how good the Celtics are. We can talk about potential finals opponents. So I'm on record as saying that I'm not worried about any team. I think the Celtics are good enough to exploit matchups against anybody, anywhere. And that includes the Denver Nuggets, where they have Nikola Jokic, who should be the MVP. I think they have the matchups against the Nuggets. I think they can outplay. They can go at Jokic, and they will attack Jokic defensively. But I do respect the Nuggets. Obviously, they're the champs. And obviously, when the champs have the MVP, if they beat the Celtics in the NBA Finals, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, what an upset. I think the Celtics would be favored. But the defending champs, defending their title with minimal roster turnover, that would not surprise me at all. But I still think the Celtics have the matchup. I think maybe the Clippers, if they can get there, would be a difficult matchup just because they have length on the perimeter and they have some size in the middle. That's probably the best combination to bother the Celtics. It would be surprising if they got to the finals, because they have Harden and he has the ball in his hand so much that he's going to be a detriment at some point. And I don't know that I don't trust them to stay fully healthy. And I just don't know that they have it to get all the way to the finals, but they very easily could. And I still think the Celtics have the matchups, but that would be a very tough, just because defensively the Clippers can bother the Celtics, which would mean it would be like Kristaps Porzingis might be the finals MVP if they play the Clippers. Like, it would probably be Tatum in a lot of different circumstances, but in that scenario, it might be a heavy Porzingis pick and pop series. Or they go to it so much that they can't play. They can't hug up on Tatum and Brown as much as they'd like to, and they'd have to start helping or stop helping and play everybody straight up, and maybe that'll change some of the stuff. But like I said, the Clippers have to get there, but that would be just because of their perimeter length would be maybe my biggest fear from a Western Conference standpoint. I don't know that there's anybody else. Like, I don't think OKC's going to get there. I don't think Minnesota's going to get there. It's great that they're having the regular seasons that they're having, but I would be surprised. I don't think they're ready to make that kind of run. So I expect it to be Denver just because I'm giving the champs that kind of respect.
Yeah, that kind of agrees with my feelings on it as well. I don't think Miami's going to be any threat this year. In terms of coaches that can pull something out of the bag and find a way to throw out of rhythm and things. I don't think the Heat are going to come even close to making. Even if they did, they've got the talent at the moment to make use of the coach. So yeah, I'm pretty much in the same bag. And this year, look, it's not just Missouri, but the quality of the coaches sitting on his bench.
Yeah.
I suspect that all the people who are saying, well, has he got the the goods for the finals? I'm still a little bit worried, until you see it. Don't believe it till you see it. But I'm a lot less worried this year than I was last year, coaching wise as well.
Yeah, look, like I said before, you don't get that second chance to make the first impression. But I think you do. I do think you can kind of change the narrative a little bit, but you don't win until you win. He's not going to win until he brings home the title. And until then, the detractors are going to say, yeah, but. And I think the biggest thing for me when it comes to Missoula is it's not the X's and O's, right? X's and O's are kind of overrated in the NBA in that there are some fantastic technical coaches out there that can't be anything more than assistant coaches. And that's great because you have great technical people on benches, and the head coach just needs to be the guy that keeps it all together. Head coaches in the NBA aren't what they are at any other level, in any other sport, in any other league. It's just different. They are managers of egos. They do have game plans. They have their philosophies, but if it's like I said before, the hardest thing an NBA coach can, the hardest job he has is getting all the guys in the locker room on the same page. If you can do that, you could have a bad game plan. And if all the guys on the team are executing the game plan and doing it well, whatever that game plan is, you're still going to win games. You're still going to win with a subpar game plan, because an NBA head coach, a subpar game plan from an NBA head coach is still probably pretty good. And secondly, having everybody together on the same page makes it just the execution is, if it's that fluid, it's hard to stop. And so you're still going to get some wins. You're still going to get some success. Now you make it a good game plan, which I think the Celtics have. You have the right mentality, and you have everybody together, and you have all the talent that Boston has, and you have the motivation that Boston has. It all adds up to me. So looking forward here, these are the reasons why I'm so confident. I don't see the same weaknesses that some people see. I see strengths, and I see, okay, this might be less of a strength, but it's not a weakness. And that's where that now, mind you, full health obviously is part of the key, but if they're fully healthy and they've done a good job managing everybody's health so far, then all of this other stuff I think adds up to kind of being untouchable. Who in the East is going to be able to beat this team when they're playing like this at full strength, at full capacity? everybody mentally on board. I don't see anybody doing it. So,
Yeah.
Any final words, David?
No, just thanks for having me on and having a chance to meet you in person.
Yeah, man.
I'm not going to be able to very easily wander down and check you out at a game, so it's nice to actually say hi.
Well, like I said, when the finals roll around and they need to make sure they get those last couple of wins, you're going to be on a plane. We're going to find a way to get you on a plane there because you're the good luck charm. David, I appreciated your generosity so much, and I want to thank you for me and my family. And it was a pleasure having you on the podcast. And thanks for being on here.
It was nice to be here.
And I want to thank everybody here for listening, for watching. A little bit of a different podcast here. It's a nice one for a Friday, having the fans' perspective. David is a great fan. You can find him on Twitter at David A. Nissen with an E. And go check him out. And look, let me know in the comment section, where do you stand? This is a great time. The last 24 games of the season with things all wrapped up. It's a great time to be a little reflective. It's a great time to kind of look ahead. So tell me where you think they stand. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me your fears. Tell me everything. Let's work through this together. We're one big, happy Celtics family. So do that. If you're new to the show, make sure you're subscribed. If you're watching from Australia, thank you so much. I love all the international listeners. I know Australia down that way, New Zealand, kind of get a little lucky. So the games start at like 9 or 10 a.m. That's kind of fun. You wake up and hey, let's just watch a game. Maybe you're at work and everybody knows at work. Don't bother David on a game day. So thank you all international listeners. I know you make a great effort to be Celtics fans. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube, and go ahead and share the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.